Little Red Riding Hood by Brothers Grimm. Brought to you by TellStory.net, stories from around the world. Once upon a time, a young girl lived at the edge of a great forest. Her grandmother adored her and had given her a splendid red cap, which the girl wore so often that everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. One day, her mother prepared a basket with fresh cake and a bottle of wine.
Take this to your grandmother. She's not feeling well, and these will help restore her strength. Walk straight along the path without stopping, don't wander off into the trees, and don't forget to greet your grandmother properly when you arrive.
She instructed,
I promise to be careful.
said Little Red Riding Hood, kissing her mother goodbye. She set off into the forest, walking briskly down the familiar path toward her grandmother's cottage. Before long, she encountered a wolf. The creature approached with smooth words.
Good morning, young one. Where are you headed with such a fine basket?
To my grandmother's house. She's ill, so I'm bringing her food.
How far?
Asked the wolf, his mind already scheming.
About a quarter-hour deeper into the forest, near the 3 old oaks by the hazel bushes.
She answered innocently. The wolf's eyes gleamed. He thought of devouring both the tender girl and the elderly woman. But first, he needed to delay Little Red Riding Hood.
Look around you. See the beautiful wildflowers? Have you heard the birds singing so sweetly? You hurry along like you're running to school, but the forest has such wonders to offer.
Charmed by his words, Little Red Riding Hood gazed at the golden light filtering through the leaves and the flowers dotting the forest floor.
A bouquet would delight grandmother,
She thought. She set down her basket and wandered among the trees, picking blooms. With each flower she gathered, a more beautiful one seemed to beckon from deeper in the forest, pulling her ever further from the path. Meanwhile, the wolf raced ahead to the grandmother's cottage and knocked on the door.
Who is it?
Called the old woman weakly.
Your granddaughter, with cake and wine. Open the door, please.
The wolf replied, mimicking a child's voice.
Just lift the latch, dear. I'm too frail to rise.
The wolf entered and, with one terrible gulp, swallowed the old woman whole. Then he dressed himself in her nightgown and nightcap, climbed into her bed, and pulled the curtains nearly closed. When Little Red Riding Hood finally returned to the path with her armload of flowers, she noticed the cottage door standing open. Something felt wrong. She stepped inside cautiously.
Good morning, grandmother.
She called, but heard no reply. She approached the bed and drew back the curtains. There lay her grandmother, or so it seemed, with the nightcap pulled low over her face.
Grandmother, what large ears you have.
All the better to hear you with, my child.
Growled the figure.
But grandmother, what big eyes you have.
All the better to see you with.
And what enormous hands you have.
All the better to embrace you with.
Grandmother, what a dreadful big mouth you have.
All the better to eat you with.
With that, the wolf leaped from the bed and swallowed Little Red Riding Hood in a single gulp. The satisfied wolf climbed back into bed and fell into a deep sleep, snoring loudly. A huntsman was passing nearby and heard the tremendous snoring. Concerned for the old woman, he entered the cottage to check on her. When he peered at the figure in the bed, he recognized the wolf at once. Before drawing his weapon, the huntsman considered that the grandmother might still be alive inside the beast. He took his knife and carefully opened the sleeping wolf's belly. After a few cuts, he saw a flash of red. The girl's cape. Soon, Little Red Riding Hood tumbled out, gasping and crying.
Oh, how terrifying it was inside that dark belly.
Moments later, the grandmother emerged, shaken but alive. Little Red Riding Hood found smooth stones and filled the wolf's belly with them. When the creature awoke and tried to flee, The stones weighed him down so heavily that he collapsed and died. All three rejoiced. The huntsman claimed the wolf's pelt as his prize. The grandmother enjoyed her cake and wine, and Little Red Riding Hood made a solemn promise. She would never stray from the path again when her mother warned her against it. Some time later, as Little Red Riding Hood carried cakes to her grandmother once more, another wolf appeared and coaxed her to leave the path. But the girl had learned her lesson. She hurried straight to her grandmother's house and whispered what she'd seen.
"We'll bar the door,"
said her grandmother firmly. Soon the wolf arrived and called out,
Let me in, grandmother. It's Little Red Riding Hood with fresh cakes.
They stayed silent, and the wolf grew impatient. He circled the house repeatedly, then climbed onto the roof, planning to wait for the girl to leave at dusk and follow her into the darkness. But the grandmother was clever too. She noticed his scheme and said to Little Red Riding Hood,
"Fetch that bucket, dear. Yesterday I boiled sausages, and the water smells wonderful. Pour it into the trough outside."
Little Red Riding Hood carried bucket after bucket until the stone trough overflowed. The rich aroma of sausages wafted up to the roof. The wolf leaned down, sniffing eagerly, stretching his neck further and further. He lost his balance, tumbled from the roof, and fell directly into the water. He drowned in his own greed. From that day forward, Little Red Riding Hood walked safely through the forest, and no wolf ever troubled her again.